Good afternoon. Thank you everyone for joining us. It's a pleasure to see some familiar faces. And before we kind of jump into today's workshop on just recipes for success, I'd like to invite Lisa Vorse, the registered dietitian for Twin Rivers, to speak to some updates that they have with nutrition services. So Lisa, take it away.
Hello, everyone. It is so good to see faces, especially after the holidays and we were all gone, and now we're coming back to school, and things are changing, and we're feeling more hope, and the weather has been nice and warm. So it's kind of fun to come together with this new energy of the new year and learn a little bit from the Dairy Council and Sonia Fernandez and Johanna from the Health Education Council about goal setting and recipe for success and some nutrition tips. And I wanted to take this opportunity to share a little bit about nutrition services at Twin Rivers USD. So I am Lisa Vorse, and I'm the dietitian from Twin Rivers, and some of the things that I do with nutrition services is some of the nutrition education, the fruit and vegetable education. So many of you have noticed that at some of our elementary schools, we're passing out bags of produce each week. Well, that is from our fruit and vegetable program that we get a grant for each year from the USDA. And it's offered at about 20 of our elementary sites, where we receive a grant for your child to receive a small snack in the classroom 4 times a week. And with the pandemic and us offering curbside meals, we actually transfer that over to become a curbside bag of produce. So many of the elementary schools are offering that, usually on, it varies by school site, but Monday or Tuesday, they provide a bag of produce. And I think this they're getting something like a whole pineapple and some pears and some other vegetables as well. So take advantage of that. And if you want to message me, I can, or leave something in the chat, I can message you and let you know what school site, if you're not sure if your school site is providing that. I also wanted to let you know about school meals. If you're not aware, we offer free meals for all children in the school district. And this doesn't matter whether your child goes to preschool or high school. Every school in Twin Rivers, the children all receive free meals, and there's no extra paperwork that's required to be filled out. So with the curbside meals, we are all, when we went and started serving packaged meals out on the curb, that is free for all children as well. But the USDA expanded that, and they're allowing us to feed all children from the day before the day they turn 19 years old, so 18 years old, all the way to birth. So if you're not taking advantage of coming by our schools to pick up meal kits, then we encourage you to do so. We just changed our days of service. Previously, we've been serving 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. But now we're going to be offering only Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but we're offering more meals. A lot of the parents that we've talked to have talked about, well, it's hard to get out every single day. So we've closed down the sites for every day, and now we're only going to be offering Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But on Mondays, you'll be receiving a kit with 2 days worth of meals. You'll be receiving 2 breakfasts, 2 lunch, and 2 suppers, and that'll be the same on Wednesdays. And then on Fridays, you're going to continue to get your 3-day meal kit as well. So we encourage you all to get out there and pick up your meals. They're open 7:30 to 8 every morning and 11:30 to 12:30. I also want to share my screen real quick and share a few little things from our website, if I can. We're doing some fun things for nutrition education now through February 10th, and it's called a food waste recycling program, where we are doing 3 different types of things. Number 1, we have some interactive lessons that your child can complete. They're on Google slide deck, so you can go in and copy those. Secondly, we're offering free mini compost kits. that you can register for. You just click on a link and you're going to register your child's name, put in your email, and then they'll be available for you to come and pick up at Orchard Elementary every Wednesday between now and February 10th. It's a bottle with directions, and you'll be able to make your own mini compost kit to help teach your child about the importance of composting and how we can refresh our soil with more nutrients. There's videos in there and there's all kinds of instructions. And if your children complete that project, they can upload that and receive a mini prize. Also, we're offering a chance for you as families to practice sorting and sorting your food waste. And you can actually sort your food waste and bring it to us at Orchard Elementary each Wednesday from 11:30 to 12:30 now through February 10th, and get entered to win a $100 grocery shopping gift card. So those are some, all this information can be found on our website. And I kind of wanted to, I'm going to leave something in the chat about the link, but that's all in our nutrition services website as well. So there's some fun things going on with nutrition education. I really encourage you to check out our website and also to follow us on Facebook. And all of that can be found on our website as well. And I'll leave a link, the address to that in the chat. Okay, so Sonia, I'm gonna
send it back to me. Okay.
Yeah, stop sharing, send it back to you, and
okay.
I'll leave that link for everyone to take a look into our website for nutrition services and check out some of the things that we're doing there.
Okay, so I just want to make sure everyone that my screen is expanded. Let's see. Can everyone see my screen okay? I just want to make sure. Lisa, if you can give me a nod.
Yes, I think
okay,
we've got
thank you.
that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So thank you, Lisa, for providing those wonderful updates and just sharing with families the activities, the opportunities that they have at home to continue to kind of immerse themselves in that, kind of agriculture education and nutrition education, and stay in touch with just the latest information through the district. So thank you so much for sharing that. In this presentation, there is also the link to Nutrition Services website. So for whatever reason families forget, how do I access this? That is available there for them as well. So I do want to actually invite Johanna with Health Education Council. She's actually going to kick us off, and I will be kind of continuing the workshop the later kind of half. So Joanna, I hope you're on the line. I would love for you to jump on.
Yeah, thank you, Sonia, and thank you, Lisa. So for today, this is our second workshop in the Healthy Habit, Healthy Families workshop series. And today it will be on recipes for success. Do you want to go to the next slide? Thank you. So welcome everyone. Thank you guys for joining us for our second workshop. And to start off, we want to do like a quick activity. If you guys can just in the chat box write which school your child and children attend. We just kind of want to get a feel of where you guys are coming from. If you guys could please write that in the chat as we go along the presentation. And again, thank you guys for joining us for this second workshop. And for the presenters, it will be myself, Joanna Ramirez from the Health Education Council, and with Sonia. We'll be doing the second part of this workshop. Okay, and to start off, we wanted to do a self-reflection question. If you guys could just, think about what are you currently doing to stay healthy? And today we're going to talk about some ways to keep your body healthy, including how eating and physical activity play a role in your overall well-being. So this is just something for you to answer, to ask yourself and to answer yourself. And this question will allow you to positively think about a small thing that you are already doing to contribute to your health. And this is like a New Year's resolution type of question. Okay. So practicing self-care. So what is self-care? Self-care is described as simply meaning paying attention to and supporting one's own physical and mental health. And how does nutrition play a role in self-care? So nutrition is one of the five important self-care strategies that are recommended to cope with stress and take care of our physical and mental health, which is critical during times of adversity. And self-care is something different for everyone. Some of us exercise, some do meditation, others do yoga. But what we all have in common is the need to fuel our bodies every day, and so we can thrive and function. And research shows that the food we put in our body directly impacts how and what we feel physically and emotionally. And nutrition is self-care. During stressful times and seasons of life, we may not prioritize self-care. However, it is an important strategy to help navigate life's challenges. And research confirms that eating wholesome, nutrient-rich foods versus the heavily processed foods, and choosing to consume a healthy eating pattern versus focusing on individual nutrient sources are key components for maintaining both physical and mental health. And today we will explore more about, healthy eating, and we're going to identify some small steps to improve health. And here's another self-reflection question. And healthy eating is a pattern of nutritious and wholesome food choices that people make over time. And healthy eating is personal, and how one person arrives at their healthy eating journey may be different from another. So you want to consider your own habits, barriers, and your goals related to health as we go through the following topics. And if you just look through these questions and like ask yourself. Um, and remember, making healthy lifestyle changes not only helps to improve your health and weight, but can help, help you feel better and improve your sleep as well. Okay, and am I at a healthy weight? I think that's something a lot of us, we ask ourselves, and you just want to keep in mind that while weight is one indicator of health, your overall eating patterns and lifestyle factors are also important for your health. And a person's weight is a result of many factors, including your predisposition, your availability of wholesome food choices, the quality of regular eating pattern, and your sleep, and more. So it's very complex and challenging. So what does the weight category tell you about your health? Excess weight can be unhealthy for you, and it can strain your body, making it work harder than it needs to work. And excess weight also increases your risk for diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, stroke, and cancer, and it can impact your quality of life by impacting your mood, your energy, and your ability to be physically active. And this graphic here, it's a tool, and it's to help you, figure out and know if you're at, what is considered to be a healthy weight for your body type. So it's just something for you to look at. And it's just a tool to help you. And you also want to make sure, you take care, you want to focus on yourself, like we mentioned about self-care, and focus on your mental well-being. Because there's a lot of other factors that go into it, like anxiety, stress, and your lack of sleep. They can also influence your health and your weight. So it's just something to keep in mind. Okay, here's our first discussion question. And there are many ways to focus on health and a variety of healthy habits that one can build. So we wanted to ask you all, what does healthy eating mean to you? And if you guys want to, answer through discussing it, like talking, or you guys can also write it into the chat. So it's just, what does healthy eating mean to you? And I can start. For me, it means, just making healthy choices, but not being too restrictive. You want to enjoy the food that you're eating. You don't want to have like such a strict diet, but you also want to be mindful of the choices that you're making. So it's just like a healthy balance. That's what I would say for me.
So let me start by saying I have asked this question to many, especially middle school students, so your students, and they always come back with, oh, eating healthy means I eat salad. And so you kind of want to start going into, well, if you just eating salad, isn't really the whole big picture of what makes you healthy. So just so you know that that's kind of what students come back with. They think that if they eat salad, then they're eating healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely that perception, right? That it's all it really entails is just that consumption of vegetables. But for me, it's, very kind of echoing what Joanna had shared about variety, balanced, and it's really thinking about kind of where does that food fall in the spectrum of processing? So trying to ensure that it's really wholesome and rich foods is really what eating healthy means to me. It's keeping in mind those foods that are highly processed and being mindful of how often I'm eating, but also understanding that I can enjoy them in moderation and in balance. So that's what healthy eating means to me. So we would love to hear, parents on this call. You're welcome to unmute yourself and share your thoughts as well, if you feel more comfortable sharing that way as well.
Who wants to raise their hand and share?
I don't mind sharing.
Thank you.
I think for us, I think it's been a little difficult, trying to make sure that our kids are eating their vegetables, and trying to include making sure that they're drinking enough water throughout the day, even sometimes when they're not, exerting themselves through exercise, but making sure they're drinking enough water rather than sugary drinks like juices and sodas. So a balance of protein, making sure that they're eating a good breakfast in the morning, like eggs or like an egg sandwich. We remind them, that they need to start their day with a good, healthy breakfast, not just a sugary cereal. And sometimes when we're making breakfast in the morning, we're including them and helping us making breakfast. So sometimes they get to choose, what we'll eat the next day, so that they know that they need to include, whether it's eggs or pancakes, making sure that they include a fruit with their pancakes, making sure that they're drinking milk. And again, it's also about balancing and having that portion control of how much they're eating throughout the day as well, especially when they're snacking. Sometimes they want to eat an entire box of fishies, and we tell them no, it's again a little bit of this or a little bit of fruit, not the entire box of crackers or whatever we have available for them. So I think it's just more about balancing out their meals throughout the day, making sure that they're making the right choices in terms of meat, grains, fruits and vegetables, and liquids.
Excellent.
That is
Thank
right on
you.
point. Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that was really great. And it's really nice that you're including your whole family and your kids into these making those choices, so that they can make them for themselves as well as they grow up. So thank you for sharing. Okay, so the next one will be focusing on food quality. So a healthy eating pattern can include a variety of nutritious foods that meet your personal values, preferences, and cultural needs. And overall quality of your eating patterns matter more than just looking at the calories or single nutrients alone. And there are many food options that naturally have a lot of healthy vitamins and minerals. And these foods also tend to be, lower in calories and fats, salt, and added sugars. And you can improve the quality of your eating pattern by including a variety of foods from each of the food groups listed on the Eat More portion of the slide. Um, and as you can see right there, it has a lot of whole and minimally processed foods, milk, cheese, the vegetables, the fruits. Um, and each of these foods, they contain important nutrients that work together to promote your overall health. And like it says right there, you want to eat more of those and be mindful of that. And, on the other hand, foods that have a lot of calories but not very many important nutrients should be eaten less often. which is the eat fewer side. You know, those contain more refined starches, added sugars, the processed meats, and there's other highly processed foods. Um, so, you know, we don't want to tell you guys, you know, completely avoid, you know, everything that's on the bad side, but just, you know, be mindful of what you're eating and, you know, eat more of the healthier, nutrient dense foods and fewer of the others. And food labels help guide choices. And think about how often you use a food label to help you decide whether to buy or eat a certain food. And I know mostly, you know, we don't really look at the food labels, or if you do, you know, you don't really look at it for very long, or sometimes, you know, you don't really know what you're looking at or what you should be looking for. And you know, food labels, they're a tool that they help you choose a high quality foods. And they also, you know, keep in mind that fruit, vegetables, and lean meats, those do not require a nutrition label because those are already nutrient dense types of foods. Um, and, you know, it does look overwhelming. So we're going to go through it just to break it down. And the first thing you always want to do is to check the serving size, which is at the very top. Um, and you want to find out how many servings are in the whole container. And for this example, you can see, you know, there's it says 4 servings per container, and then there's also the serving size. So that's what you really want to look for, you know, how much the serving size is, which is how much you should be consuming, and then how many servings are in that package. So it's important to keep that in mind, especially when it comes to snacks and beverages. So you can kind of keep track of how much you're eating or how much you would like to eat. And then the next items, the ones in orange, those are the ones that you want to limit, especially if there are no other nutrients in the food or drink. And those are, you know, the ones that have the total fat, the high in calories, the sodium, the added sugars. So if they're high in those, and they're going to be, you know, lower in the nutrient items, and that's not what you want. You want to look for foods that are in the green. So those are the ones that have, you know, the fiber, the vitamin D, the calcium, your iron and potassium. Those are the good nutrients. And, you know, if any of these nutrients are listed, you know, at 10% or greater, you know, then at least, you know, you're getting a good amount of those. And if it's, you know, higher than 10, then, you know, it's an excellent source of it. And while, you know, food labels are important to read, they don't necessarily convey all of the information about the food's healthfulness. And that's why the food label is it's an important tool, but it's not, you know, the only tool you should be using in making healthy choices. Okay, and then here's some food label examples, and we kind of broke it down according to, you know, like the different food groups. So the low fat chocolate milk, that would be, you know, your dairy, and for that you want to look out for the items that you should be focusing on should be, you know, the saturated fat and the total sugar content. And for that one, you can see it also has an included amount. So for, you know, your milk, it already kind of has it's natural, have natural sugars. They also, you know, have added sugars. So you just want to look at the whole picture and also the breakdown. Then the next one would be like your cereal, which would be like your whole grains. So you would want to look at the dietary fiber, and you want to make sure that that number is high. And for the total sugars, you want to make sure that one is lower, because, you know, there's a lot of cereals, especially that, you know, the kids love. They're low in dietary fiber and they're high in added sugars or total sugars. You know, you want it to be the other way around. You know, I know it's kind of hard for the kids to eat the healthy cereal. But just something to keep in mind when you're looking at the label. And for the canned vegetables, that would be like your canned fruit and vegetables. And for that one, you want to look at the sodium content when it comes to your vegetables, and the sugar content when it comes to your fruit, the canned fruit, because a lot of the canned vegetables sometimes will be high in sodium, but there are healthier options. You know, some of them have no salt added, and those are the ones that you want to be choosing. And when it comes to the canned fruit, a lot of them come in like a heavy syrup. So that would increase your total sugar amount, and you want to look for ones that come in like their own fruit juice. So, you know, it's all natural. and it'll be lower in sugar content. And then for your frozen dinner meal, that would be, your whole meal. So you just kind of want to look at the main ones, which would be the total fat, your sodium, and then any other sources that you want to look at, like your carbs or your protein. So just, whichever numbers, you're aiming at to have lower or higher, that's what you would keep in mind and look at when you're looking at the food. Okay, and I think like one of our parents mentioned, breakfast is very important, and you want to start your day with breakfast. You never want to miss that meal. It's a very healthy habit that can have a positive impact on weight loss, weight maintenance, and your overall diet quality and your ability to pay attention. And a healthy breakfast includes foods from a variety of food groups. For example, um, for on the slide we have a yogurt parfait, and that one you can see it has whole grains from the granola. It has and cereals because it has other added items, and then it has a lower. Oh, um, oh yes. Okay, sorry. The granola, and then it has fruit from the strawberries, the raspberries, and the blueberries, and then your dairy content and protein from the yogurt. Um, so that's a really good example of like a whole a wholesome breakfast item that you want to eat in the morning, and you can also have your kids eat, and that will really keep you full during the whole day, because you don't only have one food item, you have a mix of them. And research suggests that adults who eat breakfast, especially breakfast that includes, the whole grains, the lower fat milk, and the whole fruit, or the fruit juice, 100% fruit juice, have a better diet quality and weight status compared with those who skip breakfast. And studies also suggest that, eating breakfast may help better control your overall hunger compared to people who skip. Um, and I think that's something that everybody emphasizes, don't skip breakfast. It's the most important meal of the day. And it really is because, it gets you ready for the day, energized. It helps keep you focused, and also helps you, stops you from, unnecessary snacking throughout the day. Okay, and what makes a healthy breakfast? So a helpful tool to build a healthy breakfast is the 3 out of 5 model. So you want to pick foods from 3 out of the 5 food groups. And this will ensure that you're getting a variety of important nutrients needed for overall health. That will also help to keep you full and satisfied until your next meal or snack. So for this example, we have it broken down the different food groups, the grains, your vegetables or fruits, your dairy, your protein, and it has your different food item examples. So it's definitely helpful when you break it down this way, so you can, it's a better visual and for you to keep in mind of the items that you want to include. So an example, you could do, whole wheat toast, scrambled eggs, and then a glass of milk. So right there, you're including 3 of the 5. And if you want to go for all 5, you can combine. The easiest way would probably be like making a smoothie. You can add, fruits and vegetables in there, dairy, some protein, and then some grains if you want. But definitely, if you're not aiming for the 5 or you can't do the 5, the 3 out of 5 would be.
Well, thank you, Joanna, for starting us off on this workshop. The next thing we want to do is really think about what are those barriers to really eating a healthy breakfast. So we want to encourage families to either, put in the chat box, what are the barriers that you experience, either you yourself as a parent or maybe, your children. We know for students, especially the students in maybe middle and high school, it could be just time is a factor. They're staying up a little bit later to do their schoolwork, or maybe they're involved in sports, or we know now is a little bit of a different sort of new norm because of COVID-19. But, typically time is a factor. You're rushing to get out the door. You forget to kind of include, that buffer window to be able to maybe provide a hot breakfast, or it could be that simply you're not hungry, or your children aren't hungry. They're not hungry and they're not really interested in eating breakfast, or it could be the availability of foods. So we want to encourage people to, note in the chat box and jump on the line. I know for me, sometimes it is time. I wake up a little bit later, and what I try to do is really think about how can I better prepare for the days ahead. I try not to prepare too much far in advance because I know that may not be possible, but just trying to have something on go that I can just pick up and take with me is a good sort of solution to address that, the time of not be able to quickly make a hot breakfast. And we do want to encourage families to access nutrition services. I know Lisa had shared earlier on the call the changes that are going into effect starting tomorrow with the district's meal service. They will be offering breakfast, and you can pick up your breakfast as early as 7:30 in the morning. So it's a good way to kind of continuing offering a healthy, nutritious breakfast. They also follow the 3 out of the 5 food group model as well. And it's a good way to really demonstrate what a healthy breakfast is to your child, and continue to offer that as well. So as we mentioned, time is a barrier. It could even just be variety of food groups. How do you pair specific foods together? Joanna had shared wonderfully some ideas of what that could look like. So I won't go too far into depth, but these meals here, or these breakfast ideas, these are just some ideas that shouldn't take more than 3 minutes to quickly whip up, and you can kind of just take it to go. And they don't always have to be the traditional breakfast items. It could be something as simple as a bean and cheese burrito, or if you have some leftover noodles, that's, it could really be anything to, break that fast and give yourself and ensure that your children are having those, just essential nutrients that they need to get them started, so that they can focus on their schoolwork and have the necessary energy to participate in synchronous learning. And the thing that we want to kind of just emphasize is when we're talking about recipes for success, is really thinking about something as simple as, the portions of it. Explaining that, there is this wonderful hand method technique that we can utilize as a great tool to estimate what are those food portions without having to really weigh our food. We don't, it's not a common practice for us to whip out measuring cups and really measure what is it that I'm really consuming. But it's a technique that you yourself can practice, and you can teach your children to practice, to help kind of monitor what are those the consumption of the foods, and ensure that we're getting just the recommended nutrients that we need. So our vitamins, our minerals, our fiber, and our protein. So the hand symbol method, as you could see, it's very easy to follow. I typically like to do this when I'm, let's say I'm eating out and they offer me, some chips. So I try to kind of just, visualize how much am I really eating. I don't want to go crazy and eat all the chips and the salsa that are in front of me, but keeping in mind, I do have a meal that's coming that I will consume. So that's just one example of kind of when I, as an example of when I would use the hand symbol method. But feel free to kind of just share if you've used this technique before, if this is a technique that you're familiar with. And this is something that we do encourage our secondary students to kind of just understand and start to build a skill around with the nutrition education that Twin Rivers does and Lisa's team. Next, I want to kind of just share about the evolution of food portioning. So this is a great chart that really visualizes how food portions have kind of changed along the years. The image on the left is a good sort of depiction of how different meals and snack foods and beverages have really kind of just transformed over the last 20 years versus what it looks like today. There are many, food manufacturers, restaurants and convenience stores that, these environments have evolved with that time, and they're offering larger packaged foods, beverages, plates, right? Cup sizes. Those meal portions are by by far much more larger than what they used to be. And the reason for that is really the demand from the consumers. Is the concept that bigger is better has really created that evolution and that change of food portioning. And along with, an increase in food portion sizes really comes with an increase in calorie consumption, fat, sodium, and added sugar in the diet, which we know may contribute to increase in weight gain, various types of cancers, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. And the meal that's pictured on the right is a great visual aid to show how meals served at a restaurant, right? If you were doing restaurant dining, is, by far much larger than the portion of what should be recommended for an adult consumption. So this is where kind of just not quite using the full hand symbol technique method. We're not really going to be, touching our food in any way, but be able to kind of just visually see with our eye, what is it that portion that I'm eating? Maybe I don't need all those chips and I only need a really smaller portion. How much am I really consuming? So this, that hand symbol technique could really just be something that you could start to put into practice when you feel really comfortable. And this is a great sort of example of how you might be able to do that with certain foods. It is very challenging when you have a burrito, right? It's hard to really see what are those different components in the meal, but something so standalone like chips and salsa is something that you could practice. So we know all the 5 food groups, they are very important and can contribute to that healthy diet quality, as what Joanna had mentioned previously. And what this chart really represents, all the food groups, it's really that flexibility and be able to kind of create and build that eating style that works for you and your family, right? And your needs through moderation, variety, and balance. So, and that eating well doesn't mean it needs to be complex. And unfortunately, the majority of Americans, we do not consume the recommended amounts of specific food groups. Specifically, we're under consuming dairy, vegetables, and fruits. Dairy, vegetables, and whole grains. And it's through those kind of just the consumption, the underconsumption of those specific food groups, we're missing out on those key essential nutrients that our children especially need in the young, early kind of developing years. So, and it is challenging to make those changes, but it's about kind of creating small steps, and we'll talk about how we can do that so you don't feel overwhelmed in your plan to kind of just eat healthier. And eating healthy, it really is an evolution in its time itself. There are many factors that contribute to that. As I mentioned, time could be a factor, availability and variety, and having the skill set and encouraging family members to cook with you, especially if they're not comfortable meal prepping. So there are many factors that contribute to healthy eating. So what we want to encourage a discussion, if we have parents on the line that are that want to jump in and share what they're doing at home. We want to talk about how are you kind of just maybe making simple changes at home with your recipes to be able to include include healthier options, kind of making those healthier swaps when you're preparing meals. And I can give just an example for myself. I like using Greek yogurt instead of sour cream, just to provide a little bit more nutrients. It's a little bit of a healthier option. So I may use that while I'm doing some cooking. So if there's anyone on the line that would like to share, just the healthy swaps and what they're doing to make their meals healthier, please, we encourage you to share or maybe put in the chat box. Maybe there's just some feedback on the line, and that's okay. We could, and that's okay. You can kind of just think through, what you're doing. It's a little bit challenging just to come on the spot and to share, and that's okay. We will have the opportunity to break out into groups. So if you feel a little bit more comfortable to talking about what you're doing already at home, we encourage you to kind of just share that with us. So trading it up, as we know, these are just simple kind of techniques and things that you can do at home to make those healthy food swaps. I think a lot of us are very familiar with baking versus frying, using whole grain, purchasing whole grain cereals or using whole wheat to bake versus white refined flour. So these are just some ideas to kind of build that healthy eating pattern and ensure that, we're consuming foods that are rich in nutrients with, fewer calories. So any ideas, please feel free to share those along with us. Joanna shared wonderful ideas of kind of just, maybe trying oatmeal instead of, just a sugary sweetened kind of pastry or a really high sugary cereal as another kind of healthy swap that you may do. And, earlier we kind of mentioned small steps, right? Action planning. And we recognize that healthy eating and starting that can be a little bit tricky and it can be very overwhelming. So we want to encourage you to think about, what can you do? How could you address those barriers? So whether it's your own personal barrier or maybe barriers that we know some, family members are experiencing. Maybe my kids don't want to wake up on time. So maybe that's, even setting the clock 5 minutes earlier for them to get up. That might be able to help get the kids at the table to eat something, or make sure that they're getting to school on time. We know we're all working potentially from home, those that have that opportunity, but our kids are at home right now with school. So it's ensuring that, we can get them a healthy breakfast before they officially start their schoolwork. So instead of trying to make those changes all at once, it's about thinking one small change that you can do to improve those habits. And, that could be as simple as asking yourself, in addition to what are the barriers you're experiencing, what's one small kind of achievable action step that you can do. So maybe it's just trying a new vegetable. Maybe my kids are not fans of eating, vegetables. So thinking through what's maybe a recipe that I can cook that has a vegetable that I can kind of incorporate, or even thinking through maybe adding some vegetables with some common foods that you're already preparing, like mashed potatoes, maybe adding some cauliflower or some turnip, maybe just going to becoming some familiar with some of those foods. And I know through the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable program that Lisa's team and their district is able to provide families, there is a great opportunity to sample some fruits and vegetables through that program. And part of kind of just healthy living is also that physical movement. And it's really important to kind of ensure that that's still part of your lifestyle. It's not always about just exclusively the food that we're putting into our body, but it's also that physical movement. And oftentimes when we think of just healthy living, it's often not always really at the forefront, but there are many benefits to that physical activity. We know it improves, right, our overall health, but also our mood and our energy. There are other benefits like lowering our blood pressure. It's not only supporting that weight loss, but that maintenance of that healthy weight as well. So some things to kind of keep in mind. And a lot of these benefits are really true for children as well. They're able to focus, they're able to concentrate. Not only are they physically healthy, but that energy level and that mood is really supported through that movement as well. And a good reminder is, we want 30 minutes of, active movement throughout the day for adults and 60 minutes for your children. So we want that moderate to vigorous physical activity that really gets your heart beating. And those activities do vary by individual and by age, but some common activities is just a fast-paced walking, running, playing soccer, dancing, jump roping, riding a bike, but it's just a matter of get your heart, beating and pumping. And you can really break that up, the 30 minutes or the 60 minutes into smaller increments. We know with time, it could be very challenging, especially if you have a very hectic day. It's hard to block out 30 minutes or encourage 60 minutes of physical movement at home. So you can definitely do smaller increments of physical movement to support that daily goal. And the other important thing is for adults, ensuring that strength training is still part of that physical activity and that kind of daily routine per se. And it's important because, you know, as we age, we naturally lose that muscle mass. So this is where that strength training comes into play, ensuring that it's part of that exercise routine. We want to continue to build those, you know, those muscles to support that strength, the balancing, and the bone density really. So you don't have to use weights. You could even use canned foods or even jugs of water as your weights as well, if you wanted more of like a traditional kind of just equivalent of a weight. But you can use your own body weight as well, like doing simple things like yoga. That really does help kind of just the movement of those muscles and that strength training. So you don't always need those traditional kind of pieces of equipment that you would think at a gym to be able to do strength training. And part of kind of just establishing a goal and kind of just, you know, keeping track of what are you doing in your daily lifestyle is also encouraging some sort of kind of monitoring or kind of just keeping track to help you, you know, kind of establish and get a strong routine for encouraging that physical movement and acquiring that daily goal. To encourage you to kind of, you can keep a track, keep track of kind of that physical movement. If you are a person that likes to, you know, write down your goal and be able to kind of check things off a calendar, like, yes, I did this today, I could move on. Some people really like to see their goals written out. So if this, you know, this little chart idea is a good way for you just to kind of remember, oh, I did my 30 minutes, at least my 30 minutes, or encourage my kids to move at least 60 minutes. We encourage you to use, you know, this kind of charting system as a way to encourage that, but you don't always need to do this. And what is a SMART goal? A lot of times people mention this terminology, a SMART goal, and a SMART goal is something that's very specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So what does this mean? And there are some, you know, there's a couple of examples to help us really understand what that means. So for example, I will drink 1 full glass of water instead of a sugar sweetened beverage every day this week. So this is an example of, it's a goal that's really, one, it's realistic because I'm not saying I'm going to do this for a whole month, especially if you are someone that really enjoys sugar sweetened beverages and having your soda with your meal. You're just saying, I'm going to replace that sugar sweetened beverage. I'm just using soda as an example with just a glass of water at one meal just for an entire week. Or it could be maybe I want to include more vegetables in my diet. And I will do that at dinner, and I'll include, I'll add more vegetables, and I'll do this for, you know, 4 nights this week. So once you feel comfortable, you can kind of, you know, reevaluate that goal and make additional changes. And this is a way just to kind of just start that process, and through that framework can really help to lead more, you know, kind of greater and sustainable success with kind of just goal setting. And that goal doesn't always have to be nutrition. If you feel comfortable starting with a physical, kind of like a fitness goal, just saying, you know what, I'm going to go out and I'm going to walk for 10 minutes a day. So it's really anything that you feel comfortable. And we know you're with us on this call because you have some interest to talk about, you know, just a New Year's resolution. So this is where we really want to come in as a group, and we're hoping Heriberto can help us kind of break off into groups. And we want to encourage people today to talk about, you know, maybe we inspired you through the different kind of just areas that we covered today in our presentation. Maybe there's something that you really picked up, or you said, wow, I could really support my New Year's resolution, making this small change. Maybe it's doing a little bit more label reading, or following the 3 out of 5 kind of just breakfast model, incorporating more physical movement. So